You're live. Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, yes, it's working. This is going to be good.
And this morning, our big discussion of the day is over to you, Michael.
Welcome to Morning Minutes. Myself, Michael BURGIO, Mark, Novak, episode 285. This is getting good. We're almost hitting 300. This morning, we're going to be talking about how low do you go? How low do you go?
How low do you go when you're making your first offer on a property to buy, when you're making your first offer on a property to rent, residential or commercial? We're going to help you in all those categories.
Because to put it simply, the risk of people may say, oh, well, there's no risk of going too low. In my opinion, that's wrong. I've had many cases, someone comes in too low, and how the owner takes that is disrespectful, and they sandbag. They're like, you're trying to screw me. They hate it. So they end up becoming less negotiable. And I've had in cases, especially in commercial, where there's not really, they sell because they want to, not because they need to. I've had cases where an owner just basically said, tell them to F you, and I'm not dealing with them if they really think that. They think I'm under pressure. No, don't deal with them. Don't care what they offer next. So it can blow up in your face going too low.
It's just good old. It just leaves a sour taste in the seller or the landlord's mouth. You know what I mean? You're like, who are these people really? Like, I understand you want value, but like, nah.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go through it. You've got. And now for people out there, we need to determine the value of the unit and the offer. So don't mix this up between too low. Because, for example, let's say a unit's worth $700,000 and they're marketing it at $900,000. You don't offer like $880 or $8. Like, where these assumptions are based on the property is listed in around market value. So
that's you know what? I think of that. That's a really good point. That's well said.
So the assumption is it's market value, give or take. The owner's always going to try and get a little bit more than market, and the buyer's always going to try and pay a little bit less than market. So let's just say it's in that realm.
This whole exercise of stepping people through is based on its market value or good value. And now okay, let's put a figure on it. It's 700,000 for sale, residential unit or house. What should a punter make an offer at? What level would you go in? So you've looked around, you've found that this is the best value place in the marketplace for you and your family. What would you offer, Michael?
So what is it? 700,000 would be, so 1% 7,000, 5% 35. I think around that 5 to 8% would be where you are
on a residential sale.
On a residential, because you got to keep in mind, guys, and this is maybe even 10%. This is why the agent cannot market the property 10% above what's in the agreement. So a lot of the time, if the property is worth, say, 650, then they will go, well, that actually works the other way, 650, depending where the type of guide it is. Because if it's 10%, then they will be at 680. Then you're going a little bit lower. Take away that reasoning, but around that. But that does play.
And if you're a buyer and you're making an offer 10% less, you are risking losing rapport with the agent. And Mal, g'day. You're missing losing rapport with the agent, and you're risking losing rapport with the person that's selling. But if you want to keep that rapport up, what I recommend, making an offer below what's being asked. And if you want to be a little bit cheeky, I would always recommend to ring the agent and ask for an appointment. Ask for an offer, a meeting that you can sit and go into the agent's office, sit and discuss with the agent the offer, and ask them to submit it and leave. It's a free meeting. It costs you nothing. It's just your time, just the agent's time. It will build rapport between you and the agent. The agent will give you a good guideline of where you've got to be sitting within that meeting. Normally, you can eyeball each other. your personalities are mingling, and you can be a little bit cheeky and get away with it, rather than sending an SMS with an offer.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm just looking at it. So there's two ways a property would be marketed. It's going to be a guide price of 700 to 770, or a guide price of 700K. So in the event they've got a range of 700 to 770, more than likely you want to be around that sort of cautious to go under that guide, but a 690 to a 720 range. 690, 720. But you got to remember, the key when you're making your first offer is to get a counter offer. Too often, someone will make a first offer, and the agent, rightfully so, will try and negotiate without going back to the buyer saying, okay, 760 will buy it. They're just like, we've had offers at that level, need to increase it. And then they make you go for it. They negotiate you, which is great for the owner. You negotiate from 690 to 720 to 750. I think the biggest thing you want to get from an owner is what they'll sell for. So when you go too low, let's say the guide's 700 and you go in at 650, they just give you an FU, and you can't do anything with that. But when you come in at, say, 700 and the guide's 700 to 770, what you want is them to go back, okay, 750 will buy it. So now you know where the goalposts are, because when it's 700 to 770, you don't really know where the goalposts are. When it's a guide price of 700, you got no idea where the goalposts are. So you need to offer enough to get the counter, and they don't say that is silly. That's the key.
And when you make your offer, you need to be what I call finite. You need to be like, that is my offer, zip. Because the worst thing that happens is a buyer says, and agents make this mistake, is the word or.
Yep. Yeah.
They use the word see how you go. So I'd like you to make an offer for me of 650, see how you go. See how you go means the buyer wants to pay more money. Mr. Buyer, do not say, this is the offer, see how you go. Say, this is the offer, zip, finite, that's it. Or don't say, my offer is 650, or don't use or. Get rid of the word or, get rid of the word see how you go. Be finite with your offer.
Great tip. Also, another recommendation is you can play around with the terms. There's different stages where you can bring it in. So if you've got a lower offer, you do better terms. 10% deposit, 20% deposit released, 3-week settlement, 2-week settlement, just to really get the attention of the owner. Because if you've got people making offers with longer settlement or smaller deposits, and then you've got one which may be at the same price at the lower end, but they've got this rock solid 2-week settlement, 3-week settlement, that's going to be more appealing and it'll give you an opportunity better off. Okay. Any more on sales, or do you want to?
Yeah. A good mate of mine has always said this: you name the price and I'll name the terms.
Yeah.
Because, if you're offering 750,000 and you say, I want a 3-year settlement, well, that's changed the whole deal. So terms are actually even more important than the price. Don't forget about that, guys. Especially when we come
to commercial. Now, residential rentals. Let's go. A property is on the market for $500 per week.
Yes.
What do you do?
Well, it depends the markets that you're in at the moment. At the moment in the Sydney market, in the Northern Beaches, it's quite hot. So if you want to bump your application above everyone else's, add $10 or $20 to the asking price.
Very good tip.
But if you're in the CBD of Sydney, where they're having it's a bit harder to rent stuff out, definitely a bit harder to rent stuff out, then you can probably be a little bit more cheeky, or a lot more cheeky, and go as much as 10 or 20% less.
Yeah. And it's hard because then the prospective tenant thinks, well, how do I know it's a good market? It is hard, but there are ways you can measure it, especially if you've been looking before, how many properties are on the market. There's a lot of sort of softwares that you can Google and they'll tell you days on market. You can see if it's down. Ask the agent to show you RP data. Like if a tenant asks me to bring up DY, for example, DY trends in rentals, then they'll get a gauge. But probably the easiest way would be how many people are at the open. Too often, people come in at $500. Too often they come in at $500, but there's 3 applicants at $500. So it's really who picks up the phone on that Monday morning when they want a deposit. But if you offer
what else?
That little bit more.
When you're buying, character doesn't matter. When you're renting, character matters. So that's even more of a reason to have the offer meeting or when you're making an offer on a property with a rentals agent. No one does it. But that's more of a reason to say, hey, Mary, I saw you on Saturday at the open house. Are you okay if I pop into your office at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning? Mary's the agent. Yeah, no problems. You go in, hey, Mary, here's our application filled out. Me and Michael really love the property. We want to offer this because, we've seen a lot in the area, but, we're really tenants. Here's our references. Like then when that agent, Mary, the agent, has actually seen the offer maker, when they check the references and when they ring the owner, they can say, met them, liked them, this is the offer. Again, making lowball offers, meet with your real estate agent.
Very good point there. You've got to pick your battles, don't you? And get in front of them is the best one. And just sort of answer it all, be ready. And I think the biggest thing that's come into rentals now is, it's been there a while, is the one application, the one thing, one form, having it pre-filled. So the combination of your application done with the price, depending on the market, you may be able to go $20 less, but I reckon an extra $5 or $10, especially on a 6-month lease and you've been looking around for a while, just sort of get in there basically. And you can offer a month in advance, 2 months in advance if you can.
Cash up front's always nice,
Those little
front money for the landlord's always a nice lolly because often they've been vacant for a while, so they need that injection.
Yes.
So let's move over to your favourite, Michael, commercial.
Yeah, and I was just bringing up a heads of agreement. Now, the one piece of advice I can say with commercial is pick your battles. It's a lot. Basically, let me just bring this up. There's a lot, you can negotiate a lot. Like we're seeing it at the moment. Places were rented for 70 grand a year and then they're doing deals at 35, 40. It's very, very negotiable, even in the best of markets. But you've got to pick your battles. I didn't mean to say in rentals, pick your battles. I was already thinking of this. You got to pick your battles. Now, what I mean by that in commercial, there's about 10 points of negotiations in a deal, from the start date to the rent free, to the annual increases. Now, if you go in there asking for super low and favorable terms for you on all of that, the owner will sort of think like a sales owner does. You're trying to screw me. I don't really want to talk to you. But if you pick the battles on only a couple points, so you may choose, all right, I really need the rent to be lower. So let me go really low on the rent, but I'm willing to do a big bond. I'm willing to do bigger increases per year. Instead of 3%, I'll do 5%. Rent free, instead of 4 months, I'll ask for 2. So this is the standard form. And I'll walk you through it just quickly for what I mean, because commercial, not many people know it. Just quickly.
And also, it's a negotiation, guys. So always find out. It's like throwing darts at a dartboard. When you talk with your agent or meet with your agent, find out what the dartboard looks like before you start throwing the darts. What I mean by that is find out what the vendor's touch points are, what the landlord's touch points are, find out what they really want. So when you throw the darts or make the offer, it's going to be accurate and to the heart of what the landlord or the owner wants.
Yeah, and a little tip out there: a deal will fall apart even if one of these points aren't favourable or met or agreed on. So you may do the rent.
A blended approach, definitely.
correctly. And you're 100% right about the dartboard analogy, because some owners may care about the annual increase. You may have all the points agreed, but he wants 4%. You're offering CPI, which is 2%. Deal gone. So sometimes you got to know which levers.
Burge, I can feel the passion, mate. Listen to you. Now we've gone into commercial leasing. You're getting into it.
Residential, but yeah, any of them can make or break it. So it's really good for the face-to-face meeting with the agent, and just basically be like, what's the owner's cup of tea? Is he big? He may need the money, so asking for 6 months rent-free will just be like a deal breaker. But you may be able to say, well, I'll pay less in rent, but I'll pay more in rent. No, less in rent, but I get a shorter rent-free. And it really comes down to having that agent being able to communicate with both parties. So that's a big one, the rental one. It's a little bit more relaxed on, there's you don't want to go too low, but you got a lot of room to move on commercial. Sales, okay. Anything else you want to add to that? Sales again,
guys, the biggest learnings out of today is when you're making the offer, see if you can get physically opposite the real estate agent. It's gonna make you money. So that's the number one for commercial sales. Get opposite your agent. I think again, 10% less can probably go a little bit more, Michael. There's been a bit of pain in commercial, hasn't there?
A lot of pain, but also with commercial, you do your best to get what the market value is, but it's not like a 2-bedroom apartment where there's 15 of them and you know for certain. So the buyer can leverage the lack of data of what something's worth within reason, especially if it's vacant. So this is a perfect one where you go in lower, but you go in with strong terms, 10, 20% deposits, releasable short settlements. And it becomes, because even in the best of markets, owners terms aren't as standard as residential, where nearly every deal is 10% 6 weeks. Commercial varies a lot. It's quite often you get a 3 or 6 month settlement. So terms are big, but also
a lot more than resi. Hey, there's a lot more terms being done. You're right. Yeah. Yep.
It is. So you can be a little bit more, but also commercial owners can be a lot more stubborn if you go in too low. So it's a fine line. It's very important to get in front of the agent. What's the owner, especially if he's Italian? You want to come in pretty fairly. You'll get whipped.
It's true.
So, but having the conversation with the agent is imperative. I think that's a wrap, Mark.
It's make an offer for sure is great. Don't forget, my old friend always says, you name the price, I'll name the terms. So
I love that.
Very, very important. Don't forget to get opposite your real estate agent to build up rapport. Don't forget to have fun along the way, and anything else.
That's a wrap. And call us if you ever look. I always say to every buyer I speak to, if you're looking at another, and I'll say it on a larger scale. Great tip for agents. Every buyer I speak to about a property, I always say, if you're looking at another property with another agent and you would like the non-biased opinion of that property, feel free to call me. Feel free to reach out. More than likely, I know the property if it's in my area. Happy to help. Happy to advise.
That's right. And or just pick up the phone, guys. We're here. Don't feel like we're unapproachable or not making money, so we won't help. Just give us a call. We're happy to help you wherever you are.
Yeah.
And don't forget, guys, tomorrow night is our social media event for our community, our online community, and our local Northern Beaches community, where we're teaching people how to do what we do on social media with Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. It's $29 for the event. The money's going towards the Northern Beaches Women's Shelter, which is a phenomenal cause, and you can attend via Zoom and you can attend physically. If you go to Novak Facebook page, it's actually got the event there. You can pay online there, and we'll see you in the office tomorrow night at 6. It only goes for about an hour, so it's not going to take up a lot of your time, and we have jam-packed Lisa Novak, myself, Michael, another Lisa, our brand designer Lisa, everything into that hour with course notes. So I'd love you to be there. It's for a great cause, social media.
Oh, and now, good look forward to seeing you.
Amal's going.
And
So one, it's a
I'm-
great cause for
Yeah.
women's shelter, and two, learn how to operate social better.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, guys. See you, everyone.
See everyone.